Hello, bike farmers. Thanks for tuning in again. Wouldn't you know, we've got yet another Trek hybrid. I like to call these dad bikes, but this is a step-through frame, so it's more of a mom bike. This one is in pretty rough condition, really. It's got some weird stuff going on. This saddle has a cut back here. We're going to replace that. This is a cheapo, terrible kickstand. We're going to replace that. The spoke protector's loose. We're going to have to pull this cassette off and replace that spoke protector. The chain is rescuable. The rear wheel is super floppy here. Makes me think that there's a broken something, but doesn't look like it. I'm going to try to true it, but might need to be replaced. The front wheel is also super wobbly, definitely needs to be replaced. So I might just put new wheels on it because I think this one's gonna clean up pretty good for us. And the hubs feel good. I mean, it really is a shame when these wheels fail like this or get bent because, you know, they're good and you want to do like a rim drop where you put a new rim on them, but the labor involved just isn't hardly worth it. This cockpit certainly needs some help. I always get rid of the bar ends. I set them aside because sometimes people want them on, but just to make all the bikes consistent, I pull them off. This stem I'm going to put up a little bit, so put some water bottle screws in here. Yeah, it's got some work to do, but we'll get her working tip-top here in just a few minutes. I think the first thing I want to do with this bike is pull this rear wheel off and make a better assessment. Just kind of find out what we're dealing with here. And the best way to do that is to throw it up in the truing stand. All right, before we get crazy tearing everything apart, we're just going to take a look at this. It's got a really big wobble in it. So I'm just going to kind of feel the spokes around the wobble. And it is pretty bizarre what's going on here. I am able to tighten spokes on the non-drive side and kind of pull it over this way. Then I'm going to loosen the drive side spokes. Okay, so this spot's really bad. It looks like it took a hit. I don't know. I really want to just throw in the towel. I do not have a decent used set of wheels for this bike, so that means new wheels. And that's just expensive. I'll still come out ahead, but I'm always thinking about profit. This is how I make my living, reconditioning used bikes and selling them at my bike shop. Yeah, so this spoke is super loose and the rim is bent this way. So, I mean, this wheel is what they call sprung. It's bent. I mean, it's possible to take a mallet to some of these spots and straighten it out and rescue this wheel, but I just feel like we're cutting corners at that point, and I'm not comfortable with it. So, I think new wheels. And, you know, these are the original tires. I think we're just going to do new wheels and new tires on this bike. So I'll pull this cassette off, dig up a spoke protector, and just get going. Time is money. So we're going to get the cassette off, pull the skewer out, try to keep everything together here. Doesn't want to thread. There we go. I made this tool. I just learned how to weld and then just went nuts on it. But kind of makes things a bit easier. And I grab my chain whip. Try not to bump my microphone here. Sorry if I do. It's kind of hard to do to keep it in the camera. Anyway, chain whip goes on it. Get some good leverage. Take the lock nut off. Drop everything on the floor. Set that aside for now. Here's the broken spoke protector. I made it in the garbage that time. And then just because I don't really like these tires, I don't like anything here. So we'll just set that aside. Some people use those for crafts and put them in your garden. As far as wheels go, you know, I buy through distributors, so I'm not exactly sure here, but these are Stay True wheels. Nice double-walled rim. You know, this is all shop quality stuff, and they're really not that expensive. I think you can get them available, you know, they're available on Amazon or somewhere online. They come with a Presta valve adapter that you can pull out for Schraders, which I will, and then I can set those aside because that comes in handy sometimes later on. They come with skewers. You just need some rim tape and the rest of the bits that you can usually pull off your old wheels. Here's the rear one. It's an 8-speed free hub. We're going to figure out which spoke protector we need. So you see these parallel spokes and these parallel spokes here. So opposite of the valve hole, parallel to parallel. It's a 4-prong spoke protector. That means this is a 32-hole wheel. So if they're parallel and parallel, it's 32-hole, 4-prong spoke protector. So I'm gonna go grab one of those and some rim tape. Yeah, so the way I remember the 4-prong and blah 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 is like you've got 2 and 2 and you got 2 and 2. It's just how my brain works. I don't know. Little trick I learned along the way. So put that on there. So then I got some Velox tape. I would just pull the rubber out of these old ones and put it in here, but I think that tape is better on double walled rims. So I know it's a little bit more expensive. Oh, and I'm gonna do Schrader valves on this bike just because that's what the new owners are gonna prefer. And so I don't know if you can see this, but I just fold the tape at the valve and then I grab my little scissors and I just cut the hole a little bit bigger. I hope you can see that. And then the hole's big enough for a, there we go. Okay, find my valve hole in the rim and get her going there. So this isn't very sticky tape, so I smoosh it as I go. And I just go all the way around. Actually, this is sticking pretty good today. Man, if this is a sign of things to come, I am gonna have a great day today. Woo. I'm gonna go buy a lotto ticket. Let's go all the way around. Getting there. Nearing the finish line. And we'll do the same with the front while we're at it. So there's the little hole for a Presta valve. Fold it. Make our cut. Oh, it's big. Big hole. All right, where are you at? Line up the valve hole and do the same thing. So this cassette is really actually pretty clean, and it'll kind of become more clean as we proceed. So we don't have to worry too much about that, but since I have it apart, you can kind of wipe it down. I should spray it, make this a lot easier. I'm working harder than I need to right now. That's okay. That's okay. All right, so there's free hub body. Put the cassette on the free hub body. Might as well give it a little bit of grease while I'm here. Just kind of go around and just a little bit, little dab will do you. And then line things up. These are keyed, and there's only one way to put these on. So you find the little guy here, and find the little guy on the free hub, and there's one key that's smaller than the others, and you just got to find it. Do this left-handed. Cut the skewer out, get rid of the tag. Brand new wheels on this old bike. What am I, crazy? Not crazy. Sometimes it's worth it. Sometimes it ain't. Uh-oh. There it is. Uh-oh. There's that. You know, you'll notice I'm just kind of lubing everything as I go along. Little drop here, little drop there. Okay, rear wheel is assembled. Front wheel is close. Cut these tags off. Cut the skewer off. Dropping springs all over the place today. Front wheel's done. Let's go get some tires. So the tubes were perfectly good in the old wheels, so we're going to reuse them. I find that a Torx 25 is the best tool for releasing air from the Schrader valve. If you disagree, please comment. Let me know what's better. What's better than a Torx 25 for releasing air from the Schrader valve? You can get in a big fight in the comment section about that one. But please, I'm just getting this channel started. I want it to be huge. Not sure it ever will. But you got to start somewhere. And that starts with the initial viewers. And you can tell me, what am I doing well? What am I missing? I had a comment the other day that somebody said that they leave a little air in the tube and they like to put the tube in the tire first. And I've seen people do it this way. I've just never really adopted it. But I've been thinking about it. It was a good comment that they made. I think they finished it with, "I like my way better," which I think is amazing because, I mean, I like my way better. But I said, you know, when you're starting with a fresh, well, I thought, I didn't say, I thought, if you're starting with a fresh tire and a fresh tube, I suppose, you know, if the tire isn't already on the rim, then one could make sure that the tire is pointing in the right direction and driving the right way. Then you can just line your valve up. All right, and get one side on. I think this was because in a video or two ago I was talking about a tube. When you're cramming it in after the fact, it can get folded, and then there's a friction point and you end up with flats. And this is a way to get around that, and I like it. So after thinking it through, I'm like, there is an advantage to doing it this way, because now that tube is in there. I don't know if you can see, and it's like no wrinkles, no nothing. It's really already pretty good. We've got a little bit of air in it, so everything's taking shape. It's almost got too much air in it. Maybe I should grab my T25 and let some air out. Oh yeah, put magnets on your tool wall. It's the way to go. All right, here we go. These are a tight fit. I feel like I just poked a hole in my tube. All right, so since this is really gonna fight me, I'm going back on the other side and I'm pushing the bead into the center of the rim. That's gonna push this whole system You know, if you kind of unseat it. Everything was seated pretty well there. And then that gives you more room up here. And this also has to do with how much air is in that tube. See, I'd have had this on if I was doing it my way. I think with practice, I could get good at doing it this way and be just as fast. But this is not seating easily. Some tire and rim combinations are more difficult than others. So we're gonna apply leverage. Try not to scratch the crap out of the rim, which we didn't. All right. It's early in the morning, and my compressor, which is on a timer, hasn't gone off yet. But I should have enough air in the tank to get enough pressure to seat this one. Not too worried about it blowing off the rim because it's such a tight fit. But there you have it, folks. That is ready to go. I guess we haven't checked it for true. It is a new wheel, and wouldn't be a terrible idea to just throw it up here and just, yeah, it's a little wobbly, not bad. Machine-built wheels that have been shipped across the planet. I think. I don't know. Maybe not. No, assembled in the USA. Shipped across the country. So I'm 10 miles from Trek headquarters, where it was founded. And it's really interesting because all of the manufacturing used to happen 10 miles away. Whoa, that is a very straight wheel. That's phenomenal. I'm really a fan of these Stay True wheels. Anyway, they used to manufacture everything in Waterloo, Wisconsin at Trek. And I get all kinds of people that come into my shop that were like, I worked at Trek in the 90s. And I had a lady in here and she's like, I used to build all the wheels. And she, I don't know, her number was crazy that she could do 1,000 wheels in an hour on the machine or something like that. So she wasn't really hand assembling them, but she was feeding the machine with all the hubs and spokes and rims, and it was all kind of automagic, I guess. But it's really cool to just, these are just regular people, just your, neighbors. And some of them are like master welders because they used to actually weld the frames. And I find that really fascinating. It's just a factory job, but they're bike builders. I've found frame jigs and frame building supplies at garage sales in town, which is super cool. All right, see, this rim tape is already unstickied. And it's because of that I'm gonna do the front wheel quick. So this is the old front wheel. Save that skewer and reuse this tube. Squeezing some more air out of this tube than I did the last one, just because I know the troubles that lie ahead. And that tube was kind of sticking to the inside of the tire, so I switched up my levers. These Park Tool TL5s, tire lever 5s, are really big and bulky. Not something you want to take with you, but they're nice to have on the bench because they're never going to wear out. Lots of leverage, and they have a real soft feel to them. Yeah, I could have reused this tape on both of those wheels, probably. Live and learn. All right, reuse that bad boy. So here I go. We always put the skewer lever on the non-drive side of the bike. Get the tire direction set. I'm gonna find my label, which is on my side of the bike, my side of the wheel. This is the way I usually do it. Not that the other commenter tried it your way, man. I didn't like it. I don't know. I guess I'm still making a decision. Put the tire halfway on. Then I go like this. Now I put my tube in. I start at the valve stem. Oh, I guess you can't see that. I start at the valve stem and work my way around. I don't know. It's 6 or 1/2 dozen of the other. No, 6, 1/2 dozen or the other. So yeah, I am just getting started on this channel. Every view helps. The likes help even better. Subscriptions help the most. And hitting that notification bell will let you know when I got a new bike. And every single one of these bikes is gonna show you something new. Eventually you'll know everything if you watch enough of them. Everything. You'll know everything about everything. So yeah, so the tire isn't seated. You know, it's already, the bead is in the middle of the rim, so it makes it easier to fold your second bead on. That's an advantage of my way. I set my compressor at 100 degrees, 100 psi, and generally stay out of trouble that way. I know that it's morning and it hasn't kicked on yet, so we're probably closer to 80. Actually, I have it set at 90 psi. I used to have it at 100, but I think I blew up a couple of hybrid tires and it gets scary. So I kicked it back, just if you're not paying attention. But all right, man, these wheels look fantastic. Hopefully the rest of the bike cleans up, so it's not like super new wheels on an old bike. But it's a selling point. It'd be like brand new wheels, double walled rims. Yeah, stay true. I mean, I could be corrected, but these are their, you know, bread and butter entry-level wheels, and they come with the double-walled rims. I don't think they're making single-walled rims anymore, or making wheels with them, which is great, because that's how it used to be. And the single-walled ones are a little lighter, but they're just really flimsy. These are just good, strong wheels. I should consider Stay True as a affiliate, sponsor, whatever. You know, if I ever get to that point. This one looks to be pretty clean, not too greasy. I'm just going to get rid of that little seal because the other one's gone. Oh, no, it isn't. It is now. It's more of a dust cap. This bike isn't too greasy. It's more just dusty. So I'm just going to hit it with the furniture spray. I like the generic furniture spray better than the name brand stuff. Not only is it cheaper, but I actually think it works better for polishing bicycles. Okay. Just give it a good soaking. Wipe it down. All right, here we're looking deep into the nether regions at this kickstand. I really don't like this kickstand. Well, maybe it's not too bad. I don't mind this kickstand. How about that? No, this one's not too bad. Looks like it's in good shape yet, and it's adjustable, so I could dial it in if needed. But anyway, I didn't like how long this bolt was, because to remove it, it's gonna take me all day. So I'm just gonna leave it. There's me changing my mind again. I am just lubing the pivots on the rear brakes right now, just because they were a little sticky. A couple drops of tri-flow and kind of work it in. You can disconnect the spring of the brakes, and now they're flippity floppity, which we like. Feeling okay about that kickstand still. All right, let's lube some cables. Push your rear derailleur in. Push your rear derailleur in. And slide your housing out. Move it out of the way. Put some lubrication all along the cable. Doing the rear derailleur right now, obviously. Okay. Smooth as silk. Rear brake cable, very dry. So the tri-flow is really nice wet lube, and it leaves behind a bit of a Teflon coating. And I see a lot of bikes every year, you know, people bring them in for an annual tune-up, and I just never have a problem with the tri-flow. You always got to add a little, I guess, every tune-up. Not always, but it's way better than some of the other stuff I've used, so that's what I stick with. It's my favorite. Okay. Front, I'm shifting it all the way up and then releasing it without pedaling. It gets me enough slack to get the housing out of its cable stop on the frame. Reach around the back here. Drop a couple drops here in the nether regions. There you have it. Should we do the front one? I usually wait until I do the front. This one, just not a good angle. All you get is my arm. I'll do that later. Okay. This perfectly true brand new wheel. Very shiny. Pop that back in the frame here. Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to hit this chain with some one step. A lot of it. Squirt it all over everything. Just make a mess of it. Shift that derailleur way up, and I just squirted the hell out of it with that one step, and really can polish things up. And the lube worked its way into all the nooks and crannies. And now it's actually silky smooth. I lied before. It wasn't silky smooth before. Okay, it needs adjustment, but that's a different camera angle. I'm gonna give this brake pad a little polish. Do this one too. I'll move you guys to the back of the bike and start tuning things. Let's take a look at this brake. So first thing I check is the pads, which seem to have a passable amount of life left on them. I kind of grab a hold of the noodle, and I'm still working that lubrication from the cable lubing in. And I'm going to reconnect things, but it doesn't seem to want to reconnect. So I'm wondering if some housing isn't seated properly, or yeah, something is wonky here. I'm going to go all the way back. I am not seeing anything out of the ordinary. Something moved. Maybe not. Okay, well, so we'll let out some cable and hook these brakes up the right way. I wonder what's going on there. I wonder if I'll discover it. Okay, so there's that. So now they're not really working at all. So I'm pulling everything tight and then just letting a little cable out and then re-anchoring. We're only pulling from one side. I grab my little three-way. There's a 3mm Allen key to adjust the tension. I'm going to tighten this side down. See if we can pull the system over. It's not really working. Oh, maybe it is. Okay. There's that super true wheel letting us know it's not super true all of a sudden. Okay, these pads are not lined up. Everything's wonky. What a wonky bike. Oh, it's because the new wheel is different than the old wheel. That's what's going on. That's exactly what's going on. This is a wider rim. So everything needs to be adjusted. We'll have to do the front too. So I'm just lining this left pad up. The right one's better than the left, but I'll just make a quick adjustment here. Gonna let some more cable out. Not a lot, just a smidge. Okay, give it a couple. Oh, I mean, seriously, folks. Oh, this left pad can be adjusted a bit. It's got a bit of a reverse toe going, which means that the back is hitting before the front. Sometimes when you crank them down, yeah, that's what's going on here. When you crank them down, these soft alloy spacers, the washers, compress. And when they compress, they kind of find their happy home, and it's not where you want to be. So I just kind of futz with them. Sometimes a couple of strategically placed drops of lube. Yeah, kind of freeze that system up. And then it listens to my mechanical instructions a little bit better. I usually do this from the other side of the bike. I don't know if it's my bald spot right in the camera. It's kind of hard to tell. Are we getting some drift here? My camera angle. Alright. Try to get it to hit flush. That's all a little better. It's a little loose. I'm going to bend that out a smidge. And then I'm going to back this off. I'm going to move this pad up like a fraction of a millimeter, just because it's not exactly perfect. If the pad is hanging off the edge of the rim, either on the top or the bottom just a little bit, then it's going to wear that way, and eventually it's going to want to stick. Best to just avoid that. All right, this brake adjustment was a little bit trickier than I thought. Adding a little bit of tension here. Just pulling some cable. Gonna loosen just a bit from this side. Let's go. How's that? We like it? We like it a lot. All right, let's tune the drivetrain. 1, 2, 3. Look back here. 4. It feels a little tight. Yeah, it wants to overshift just a smidge. So I guess it's off screen, but there's a barrel adjuster on the shifter, and I'm turning it in to create some more slack, and it is all bottomed out. Yeah, you can see it's tight. It doesn't even want to go into the high gear. Right? This barrel adjuster is all max. So I'm going to let some cable out. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the derailleur and just kind of pull on the cable a whole lot. Not like the last bike where I just destroyed the housing. Yeah, that helped things settle. Yeah, maybe that was it. Just from lubing the cable. From lubing the cable and getting the housing, everything kind of came unseated. Yeah. Because this bike was properly adjusted beforehand, I bet. It was fine. Nothing's bent. Okay, so that was the right solution there. Instead of messing with this and the barrel adjusters, it was I just squeeze the derailleur with my hand and then pull on the cable down here and just really kind of stretch the cable. It's always a good thing to do on new bike assembly or anytime you replace a cable, stretch it out. Yeah, it still feels like it wants to overshift. We're going to let some cable out and then adjust with the barrel adjusters, because that gives us quite a bit of adjustability in the future too. So I just let out just a tiny bit of cable there. Okay, so we got some slack here, and I'm just going to back this one out, and then I'm backing out the one up by the shifter too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Still feels a little tight right there. Hear that clicking? It's not quite tuned. We're gonna just turn the barrel adjuster in, and now it's silent. You see that one hesitate? From there, down to there. One time. Wasn't that bad. Still a little bit slow getting into the high gear. So I'm going to back out the high limit screw, which is this one on this bike. Just a smidge. Quarter turn. Oh, now it's fast. Make sure it doesn't overshift. Okay. Then we can move to the front. You can hear now. And it's a friction system. It's ratcheting, but friction. I'm feeling under here. That's a nice, tight, taut cable. All right. The high limit. Oh man, we've got a really wavy chainring here. Are they all wavy? They're all wavy. Oh boy. Oh man. Something is bent. What is bent? Man, this bike really took a hit. All right, well, we have to find a crank. We're gonna replace the crank set on this bike too. Am I gonna make money on this bike? Ugh. I'm going to do my best to show you what I've discovered here. If you just keep your eye right here, follow this chain ring as it relates to the front derailleur. And you can see how wavy and wobbly that is. And then if you look down here, I don't know if you can see it, but everything is wobbly, and that chain is doing a weird thing. And I could really try to get after that with a hammer or something and bend it back into shape, or I can just find a whole new crank and replace it. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I do have new ones here if needed. Well, I suppose my first step here is to remove the pedal. You know, if I can get away with just doing one side of the crank, that's mitigating my expense the most. It's a Shimano crank. It's silver. Still haven't figured out exactly what size it is. So this is an 8mm crank bolt. And then we'll find our crank puller. These are my favorite kinds of crank pullers. It's Park Tool CWP1, nope, CWP7. And this is for the normal square taper. So thread this in and thread it in all the way. Back your other guy out. Grab an adjustable wrench, and I like to tighten that in good. Not too tight, because this is very hard steel and this is very soft alloy aluminum. And then there we go, pull it right off. So 2 things I'm going to check here once I get my tool out of here. So somewhere it'll tell me how long it is, and maybe you can see it says 170. And the other thing I look for is the orientation of this interface. So I call that diamond, and then when it's 90 degrees, yeah, 90 degrees, I call that square. So 70, Shimano, and diamond. Those are my mental notes. Down here, crank sets. Oh. Huh? Altus. Diamond. What's it say? I cannot see. 170. I don't think it's the right chainring sizes. But look at that. I mean, this is good enough for who it's for. So here's the old one. And here's the one I just found. It's way too small. It's just not going to work. Wah, wah, wah. Found this one, which we've got diamond, and it's the right size, but it's 175. I don't know if you can see that. So that's another wah wah wah, because I only have the one side. Otherwise I'd just make it a 175 and replace the left side too. So that's no good. Put that away for the next guy. However, I've got a new one. It's 175, but I've got both sides. So new crank set. Here we go on this side of the bike. Left side pedals are reverse thread. So very confusing. And hard to do without the right side on there. So get that pedal off of there. Pull that bolt off. Crank puller. Snug it down. Pretty simple. So now I've got a good 170 millimeter left side crank arm. And these are the ones that people screw up all the time because they'll always try to righty-tighty in the reverse threads and ruin them. So this will save somebody's day. It's a nice Shimano one too. All right, here's the new one. It's the right size. Might as well clean things up now that we have access to some nether regions. Look at how shiny that gets. I love these paint jobs. Terrific. There was grease on the threads, but I just added a little. Tool is sticking. Oh man, this bike's about to fall out of the stand. Tighten up that seat clamp. Drive side in effect. Clean things extra good there. I just kind of set the chain on the bottom bracket shell. So this guy's dangling down. That one's sticking straight up. Yeah. You have a dirty mind. Put the chain on the little chain ring there just to make sure I don't accidentally smush the chain with the crank into the bottom bracket shell. Nice and tight. I mean, that looks really good. Straight as an arrow. Okay, so these pedals are directional. I'm going to find my little bottle of lube and just kind of lubricate things a little bit while I'm here. So the pedals are always marked left and right. I start the right one. Well, let's put a little dab of grease on the threads too. I start the right one, and then I always do this the other way too. All right, I'm just holding the pedal axles when I pedal backwards, and that tightens them both down at the same time. Then I can grab my pedal wrench. find the stopping point and crank down on it. Same thing here. I don't know if you can still hear that pounding upstairs, but you know, got some reclaimed hardwoods going in. Spruce things up a bit. Looking forward to seeing the progress in a minute when I'm done with this bike. The chain's been soaking in that one step for this whole time. And it's good to clean the excess off. You know, I'm always wiping and cleaning as I go. All right, pretty shiny. If rust can shine. So here we are back to where we started when we discovered the wavy chain rings. And new crank. And we can check the adjustment on this front derailleur. So it is a ratcheting friction system, which means it does not index into place, which gives us some adjustability. We can see right now, right out of the gates, I've got a tight cable, but it's not shifting into the low chain ring. See if I can get a good angle there. So we need the whole system to want to relax that way. I'm going to need to let some cable out and then back off the low limit screw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen the cable altogether. And then I'm actually going to shift up into the low gear there. And then make sure my shifter, I got my shifter is all the way in first gear on the left side, the front derailleur. And then find my low limit screw, which is this one, and I'm going to back it off, which is going to move the derailleur towards the frame of the bike. And hopefully, there we go. I had to loosen the cable. So eventually it's going to shift down. Okay. Now I'm looking at this space right in between the chain and the inner part of the derailleur cage. And I'm just tightening the low limit screw until it almost hits but doesn't hit. And I'm also noticing some grinding here. I'm going to screw in my B limit, which hardly ever seems to work for me. I feel like it's a theoretical adjustment. It's a little better. Then I'm going to come back around, grab my cable. I should be grabbing this with a pliers. Grab my needle nose. Come around here. So if you grab with your needle nose, I don't know how much you can see here, pull it tight, and then anchor it. So now we have a tight cable and the low limits are adjusted. So theoretically it should shift all the way up into the high gear now. Oh, and it's over shifting now. Yep, so it just threw the chain. See if I can get it to, yeah, okay. So now we're happy up here. I'm gonna go into the high gear here, and we are wubby-dubby. We're rubbing here on the outside now. So when the chain is in high gear in the back, and you're in the high gear in front, the chain is rubbing on the inner part of the outer cage. So now we find our high limit screw. Oh, that's right. So it's actually overshifting. So now it's rubbing on the inner cage. So we take our high limit screw and we're going to screw it in, and that's going to push the derailleur towards the frame of the bike. Back up, and still is rubbing on the inside. It kind of wants to overshift. I'm relaxing things. Turning the high limit screw in a smidge. Doing my best to throw that chain. And I did. So we're gonna limit it a little bit more. All we're doing is limiting how far that derailleur can push the chain. Oh, see, it just threw it. So we're gonna quarter turn. Very nice. That's about as good as it's gonna get. And actually, I think we can do a little more, and it's still gonna function fine and just be a little bit safer. Double check. We're good. I hope that was visible, because that went pretty well. And in doing so, we squirted rusty lubey gunk everywhere from this chain. Still, but we can wipe that off. And that's just that one step is still doing its thing. Wiping the chain, and that chain is lubricated and cleaned along the way. I mean, it's pretty shiny. That's a pretty good looking drivetrain. Pretty well tuned. I mean, would you just look at it? I mean, it was kind of a filthy mess when we started. I mean, all of it. It was really dusty and gunky and grimy. And yeah, I know, we put on a bunch of new parts. But we've also been doing a lot of polishing and wiping as we go. Very nice. Let's move to the front of the bike. Here we are. As promised, at the front of the bike. I've got some polish on here that can be wiped off from before. So I guess that's where I'll start. So this whole thing, this craziness, people really get themselves bent out of shape about numb hands and sore wrists and dialing in this, you know, all these hand positions. And I mean, I get it, but this is extreme in my opinion, which frankly doesn't matter. It wasn't my bike, it wasn't my setup, so what do I care? But here I am turning it back to normal. And yes, I am the decider of normal. The first thing I'm doing is underneath here is a 6mm bolt. You can loosen that up. Squirt some thin lube, help things move. Take a hammer, kind of pound things, get it moving. Up she goes. That, in my opinion, is a good stem angle for this bicycle. It's about where I like them. And to help it move, we can try to loosen this side up. I can see it's marred up, so I don't want to touch it if I don't have to. So I'm gonna tap this. I want this to be seated fully and completely underneath. So I'm just gonna kind of give it a couple turns and tap it, and give it a couple turns and tap it. Go that way. Ow. Go that way. I just smashed my thumb. And I'm kind of feeling it, which way it's moving as I go. You just want this to be a really tight system. Okay, these bar ends are going to go. I'm thinking about selling these bikes, you know, so I'm thinking ahead. And sure, for some people, these bar ends might be a selling point. But for a lot of people, they're like, what are those? I've never seen those. And it's just more questions, and I think it diverts from, you know, what I really want is for people to just get on the bike and have it feel pretty normal and comfortable, and not have, I want everything to be normal, not special. So anytime you have weird handlebars or accessories outside of, you know, a cute bell or something, people are always going to ask, what is that for? What is that? I've never seen that before. I don't need anything fancy. I don't need that. And they think it's extra, and you don't want anything extra. Just keep it simple. So that's why I do that. Now there are some people that are like, ooh, free bar ends. But I think that it's distracting. Just kind of because I'm able to eyeball things at this moment. I'm adjusting the angle of the bars to where I think is a good place to be. And I'll do the same with the levers. We're going to have to move these grips out. I'm going to move the grips out now, but I can't find my nozzle, air nozzle. Be right back. Best way to move grips is with compressed air. Just woke everybody up from their naps. Time to wake up from your nap. Wake up from your nap. Loud noises. Okay, it's fine. You can go back. You can go back to sleep now. Shh, it's okay. Two 2.5 millimeter under here on this grip shift. I'm just going to leave it loose. 2.5 millimeter on this one as well, obviously. Maybe not so obviously for some of you. 5mm on the brake levers. Yeah, see, now it's coming together. Where's my 30-degree angle? Right about there, do we think? Now I'm guessing at this point. It's kind of hard to guess in the stand, but I do this enough where I would say I'm right 50% of the time. You know, if I don't have to make the adjustments in the final bike check on the floor, I win. If I do have to make some adjustments and final bike check on the floor, it means I'm a total, complete loser. Hashtag sad loser. All right, I just got ahead of myself a bit there. I just squirted the brakes with one step. And we tried, not very hard, tried a little bit to lube the brake cable before. Didn't seem to want to do it. I got a much better angle on things now. And then drop some down here in the noodle. And then I hold the noodle, start squeezing. And that kind of works everything. Kind of pulls the lube inside the housing all the way down. It feels really pretty smooth. I'm not sure I'd call it buttery. Take this beautiful brand new front wheel and put it back on the bike. Not back on the bike, it's gonna get put on the bike for the very first time. Whoa. Just went to town on that skewer. All right, so I'm supporting the wheel with my leg here. I'm kind of squatting down. And then the skewer I'm tightening to the point where the lever, yeah, so try to hold the wheel up into the fork. It's starting to fight back when it's just about sticking straight out. And that's a general rule of thumb on a good amount of pressure to put on the system to hold that wheel on. I'm going to add a little bit there. Yeah, there we go. That's good and tight, but not too tight. Very smooth, very nice. Here we're gonna work on the front brake. So again, these rims are wider than the old ones, so this isn't gonna work. Whoop. We're gonna have to let some cable out, just like we did on the rear. You can see on this guy, I think you can see, this is all bent out of shape. So I'm gonna grab my needle nose and kind of tweak that back into shape. What happens is that people spin this all the way around and it pulls on the cables, and every time it'll pull your noodle right through its home. And I have lots of people that are like, I don't know what happened, but I don't have a front brake anymore. And I just reconnect it and they're like, what? That's what's going on there. They, you know, taking it in and out of the back of a car, or one of their kids lays it down and everything just flips around. It's a thing in the world. I made $100 once to just flip the handlebars around on a bike. In the bike mobile, somebody scheduled a minimum appointment on their kid's bike, and it was a brand new bike, and They were happy to pay it. I was like, you should have taken it to a bike shop. But, you know, it's a hassle to go take your bike to the bike shop. That's why the Bike-mobile is such a wonderful little business. I should probably do a Bike-mobile episode. I think I need help to do it. I'm kind of cheating here. But I think it'll be okay. Just trimming things up, cleaning things up a smidge. Just a bit. Okay. Here we go. Man, if you've made it this far and haven't clicked like or made a really good plan to subscribe to this channel, now's a good time to consider doing so. Don't forget to hit the notification bell too. My goal is 2 videos a week, but during the bike season that's really hard to do. And so it'll probably be a little more sporadic depending on how busy I am. I've also got the house project going right now, which is a whole nother animal. And it can be tough depending on what's going on. So you can probably see how this pad on this side is hitting the tire. I'm gonna have to lower it. That's good. And then this one as well. Give her a couple. All right, we're gonna have to adjust the tension. It's only pulling on that one side. Hopefully this goes very well. Let's just keep an eye on things. Getting towards the end. Oh, there it is. It feels pretty good. So this is one of those brake systems where up here, there's a little spring inside here. If you take them out, the brakes feel way better. The idea is that when panic stopping, the brakes won't actually lock up. And that truly keeps the front wheel as a slow me down brake instead of a dead stop flip over the handlebars. I don't know. I just think it makes it harder to get a good feel on those front brakes. But I don't feel like taking that spring out and readjusting everything, so I'm going to leave it. But I have taken them out in the past. If you remove the spring, it's just like the rear and it's fine. But you know, I like the front and the rear to feel the same, and they never will on these bikes because of that spring. If you have that spring inside the noodle, it's never going to feel like the rear. Just won't happen. You hear those spokes settling in those new wheels. I'm hearing a rub. Slowly but surely we'll get there. Okay, now it's rubbing on this side. Tighten. Man, this is temperamental. I'm gonna call it good enough. It rubs sometimes, but not enough for real concern. I mean, I can get down and look and see if sometimes when you get those really light rubs, it's because one of the pads is not flush. But, I mean, that's all because of the spring, you know? I mean, I can bottom the lever out, you know? That's how much lever I'm pulling just to get this little bit here. I'm okay with it. Yeah, that's totally silent. Everything's moving great. I love it. Thumbs up. Speaking of thumbs up, maybe give this video a thumbs up. Well, this bike is nearing completion. I'm gonna give it a quick check. Make sure everything's good to go. Check the rear brake. That lever kind of sounded and felt a little dry. Sounded like it was making a little noise. Squirt the brake levers here with some one step. That's great. I'm gonna find some water bottle screws and put some water bottle screws in the frame. One thing about having a bike shop is having bins of stuff. I mean, I spend a lot of time getting my water bottle screws to match. These are both 4mm. It's good enough. Found them quick. Grab a 4mm wrench. I get a little bit of lube on the threads and just kind of get some grease. This is a really long screw, but that's okay. Used bike. They're nice. Nice screws. Technically bolts, I think. That's like one of those things where somebody might say, "Oh, I'm not a machinist." It's like, you don't need to be a machinist to know that. Fill those bolt heads with Tri-Flow and they won't rust. The one was already kind of rusty. Not too bad though. I can do that all over the bike. I just kind of make little drops, just all the little places that you think might collect water and rust. Squeeze the tires, make sure they're still holding air properly. Man, that's great. I'm gonna squirt the kickstand. Saddle. I'm gonna put a saddle on. I'm gonna do that when the bike's on the ground because then you can get it level. So I think we're about ready to do the ground check and a saddle. All right, we got ourselves ready for the ground check. So we didn't lube the seat post and it's pretty filthy. So we can drop some lube in the quick release here, which I tightened up a while back. Felt a little too tight. This is a really small frame. This is gonna be a good bike for a short mom or that teenage girl. So this saddle is like almost good enough, but I'll show you when I get it off what I can see that you can't. Well, this would be a lot easier if it was back up where it was. It just looks funny showing that much seat post. There it is, folks. The cut. Wrench on the floor, wrench on the floor. That's right. I've got a wrench on the floor. So I use one eye and then I look across the room and I find a straight line on the shelves over there, the drawers, and the butts and the nose. And I make sure that the saddle's level. And then this is something you gotta really tighten down. But you gotta be careful too, because you can strip it. So very, very much gluten tight. Okay. Get it centered. Tighten this little collar down on the suspension seat post. Sometimes takes the wiggle out. And then the dust doohickey, get that seated properly. You know, just little things that somebody might notice. Make sure it works. Okay, and then I get on the bike. My handlebars and lever angle is almost perfect. I can make a slight adjustment to the bars, just like yay. And then the stem is crooked, so we might as well grease things while we got it loosened. Throw some fresh grease in there. All right. So this stem doesn't have a whole lot. You can maybe see there's an indicator of the minimum insertion. I like to have the stems up as high as legally allowed. And then I'm one eye looking to make sure that everything is aligned straight. I don't know if that gives you a good enough view. So this is just how these brakes are going to feel, which is not bad. I mean, they're adjusted properly. They're good. I like things to be a little snappier. Can use the barrel adjusters to make some final tweaks. And those handlebars still aren't straight. I wonder if they're bent. It does, I mean, seem like this bike was in some sort of accident of some sort. And the kickstand is just fine. I think we've got ourselves a bike. The Trek 7200. 7200 always has the suspension fork and a suspension seat post, adjustable stem, really comfortable general purpose hybrid. Love these bikes. This one fought back a little bit with the new crank and new wheels and all that. Not going to turn a huge profit on this one. I'm sure I picked it up cheap. You know, I saw those wheels. Actually, now it's coming back to me. I think this bike was given to me. So that's okay, you know. I maybe have $200 in parts. Not even in this bike then. And yeah, I'll make some money on it. I'm sure it'll sell fast. It's a nice small size, good for the teenagers. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like.